Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of What's Next with We. This episode is the first episode of this year, and this episode is part of the innovation series. Today we have a really special guest, Mr. Ashish Deshpande, a seasoned professional in the product and strategy domain, focusing on the fintech space. And my really dear friend as well, and also a volunteer at iSPIRT. Today's discussion is on this new protocol called OCEN. There's so much to learn, there's so much to understand. Ashish, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you so much, Vishal. It's great to be here. I've been
Awesome.
wanting to be here for a long time and finally.
Yes. The pleasure is all mine to have you. As you all know, I'm Vishal Ramaswamy, the V in What's Next with We. Jumping right in, Ashish, I think you have a pretty unique story. You did your engineering, followed by doing your MBA, and you have been in the fintech domain. I think it's a pretty happening space. A lot has happened in the past 10, 15 years in India. And I think the technology we're building right now in India is built for India and ready for the world. So I think you have had a very extensive experience. At the same time, you have done multiple roles in large institutions. Would be good to hear your story till date, Ashish. Over to you.
Thanks, Vishal, again. Like you said, I did my education. I had my engineering and masters, and then I ventured into the financial services space. So I have predominantly worked across investments and the credit space in with some of the large Indian and multinational companies. And after my experience in those things, those areas, I moved on to the fintech space while I was working in the same thing. And that's when I realized the huge potential of the fintech space. I have also, I've catered to banks, I've catered to wealth management, I've catered to some other financial services as well. So what I've seen is India has India is making some really big strides on the fintech space, especially we have seen great strides on the side of payments, as we all know.
True.
Now I think credit and investments are the next space where we can see some big things happening.
So actually, I'm obviously we are doing this podcast in collaboration with iSpirit, and you're a volunteer there. Would be great to hear your experience so far at iSpirit, and maybe if you could explain what iSpirit does to the broader audience.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can follow up with the platform you're leading, the Oken platform. Would be good to hear the story.
Let's start with iSPIRT. iSPIRT stands for Indian Software Product Industry Roundtable. It's a think and do tank with an ambition of making India a product nation. So it's a group of volunteers, full time and part time, who work on projects that concerns the problem affecting India at the grassroots level. So iSPIRT has worked on multiple initiatives, and one of the initiatives it is working on, of which I am a small part, is OCEN, which stands for Open Credit Enablement Network. So OCEN aims at solving the credit gaps for MSMEs. So, the roots of OCEN lie in the 2019 report from the UK Sena Committee on the state of the MSME lending in India. As we all know that India is credit starved almost to the extent of rupees 20 trillion. And a very small section of MSMEs in India have access to formal credit. It will be less than 15%. So the lenders' reluctance to lend money to these kind of borrowers stems from their extremely thin credit profile,
Mhm.
which poses a higher risk level for them. And the whole idea of OCEN again is to democratize credit. It is to open the doors of formal credit for such MSMEs. And OCEN aims to solve this problem by enabling short tenure and small ticket size loans for MSMEs. When it comes to lending, typically, let's talk about the two aspects that we spoke of. One is small tenure, the small ticket size, and the other is short tenure. So when it comes to tenure, when lending to a small and medium entity, banks face some kind of a risk. I mean, banks are not exactly sure, or any of the lenders is not sure as to where an entity would be going from 1 to or 5 years from now. There can be a lot of change in the dynamics as far as the business is concerned, the financial health of the SME is concerned, or the market in which it is working is concerned. And hence, due to this kind of a risk, banks are averse to giving them, a credit for this kind of a tenure. But let's say if we curtail down the tenure from 1, 2, or 5 years to, let's say, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, or few weeks, then the probability of such a small entity uh, facing a significant risk in such a small time frame is much lower than when the time frame is high.
Mm.
So,
True.
what happens is the probability of risk here is reduced to a significant extent. And now the next aspect, which is the small ticket size. So again, what OCEN focuses on small ticket sizes loans based on the cash flows of the SMEs. So what happens here is, again, even in the worst case, a lender doesn't stand to lose a huge amount here.
Mm.
So basically, what happens here is the tenure helps in reducing the probability of risk, and the ticket size helps in reducing the capital or the actual capital loss which a lender can focus. Hence, net it helps reduce the expected credit loss, which a typical lenders typically focuses on when lending to an MSME. So that is the hypothesis on which the concept of Oken's cash flow based lending is based upon.
Got it. Got it. Ashish, I mean, for the listeners, it would be good if you could just explain the main stakeholders involved in this. I know you guys are creating a democratized platform. It'd be good to hear who all are the participants in this platform.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Oken is basically an ecosystem that consists of various partners who have a role to play when it comes to a lending workflow. So the Oken ecosystem comprises of borrowers agents, lenders, and ancillary services providers like disbursement and collections partner, derived data providers, among others. So it's a mix of all these players and them working in tandem to enable these kind of small ticket size and short tenure loans for MSMEs.
Got it, Ashish. I mean, I truly believe it's going to be revolutionary in nature. Has any other country globally done it, or are we the first ones doing it?
So I'm not very sure, but I believe I haven't really seen of this kind of a platform coming up at a public level anywhere.
Got it. Pretty awesome. I think Ashish, also what the listeners would like to know is, have you guys done any case studies, live examples, like to
Absolutely.
how the platform works in a very simple way would be good to understand.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we move on to the actual live example of Oken, let me just simplify what we are trying to do with a hypothetical example. Let's, like I said, Oken comprises of borrowers, agent, lenders, then other ancillary participants. So let's take a case of any borrower's agent. Let's take any restaurant aggregator who has got a good chunk of borrowers, or what he has got rich data with him. So let's say that restaurant aggregator has a cafe registered with it, and it wants a loan for, let's say, a week for repaying its electricity bill
Got it. Yeah.
loan for a week. So what happens is a lender would find it really difficult to give this kind of a loan on a standalone basis to a hotel. But with Oken, what happens is the borrower's agent, in this case the restaurant aggregator, can provide the data which is associated with the onboarding and underwriting of that cafe.
Hmm.
So any data related to the tax documents, or you can say the registration certificates, which are typically required in India.
Hmm.
So he'll be having those, and he'll share those with the lenders, thereby taking care of the onboarding. Then whatever income the cafe has been making on that platform, he'll be having that data as well. So you can share the money made by that cafe on a daily, monthly, weekly, quarterly, and annual basis for some years with the bankers, through which the banks will get the underwriting data. Now, there are certain disbursement partners on the platform which will ensure that the loan which is being disbursed from the bank to the cafe is being used for the same purpose as it is being asked for, thereby
Hmm.
eliminating chances of fraud.
Got it.
Then there is a collection partner who will ensure that what after a week, It is ensuring timely collection of that loan and giving it back to the lender. And there are certain derived data providers as well who will ensure that during that tenure, if there is any risk which is creeping up, then they'll alert the lender about the same, thereby taking care of the monitoring. So what happens here is that all these workflows, onboarding, underwriting, disbursement, monitoring, and uh, your collections, is typically which is managed by a lender. It moves out from the lender scope to other participants in the ecosystem. Thereby, lender doesn't have to deploy his resources for this, and thus there's no cost arising for him. And thus, he can provide these kind of a loans at an affordable rate to the borrower.
Mm,
As far as the other players in the ecosystem go, they'll also be taking a small money from the borrower for that. But that
mm,
amount will be very small considering that the volumes which will be arising from the economies of scales on the platform. Thus that cafe will get a affordable customized loan. The lender will lender, borrower's agent, and other participants will make money, making it a win-win situation for everyone. So that's how basically that's a hypothetical example of how a short tenure and a small ticket size loan can work on this platform. Now moving on to some live examples. So we last year we did a pilot with GemSci. So GEM, as you know, is government e-marketplace, and
correct.
GemSci
Yeah.
is the lending for the contractors typically associated with government e-marketplace. So the pilot was about offering purchase order based loans to these kind of contractors associated with or the vendors associated with government e-marketplace.
Mm,
And here the loans were given after analyzing the last 3 months POs of these vendors as well as their ratings on the GEM portal. So this was the basis on which loans were given to them. During that pilot, we saw almost 15 crore worth of loans being disbursed from across 3,800 different loans. The ticket size for these loans averaged at around 40,000 rupees, and they ranged from as low as 150 rupees to as high as 10 lakh. The interest rate, average interest rate was around 15.5%, and it was the lowest interest rate that was given was almost 9%. The tenure here was ranging between 55 to 109 days. And another key thing here was that the average time, I mean, the time of application, total time right from application to disbursement here was just 7 minutes.
wow. Wow. Phenomenal. And have you guys completed it and any success metrics, success parameters?
So yeah, I mean, like we said, almost 15 crore loans were disbursed here.
Okay.
Now, this is on the verge of scaling up further, and it's in progress right now. And probably the volumes will be significantly higher going forward.
I can imagine, Ashish. I think the example you mentioned is just one small part of it, right? I think there'll be so many use cases coming up, especially in a country like India and across different sectors. Obviously, you gave the hypothetical example of the restaurant aggregator. That's just
Yeah.
such a small part, right? You have so much in different other different sectors. Ashish, moving on, I just wanted to pick your brain on you've obviously had good experience across financial institutions, obviously lately fintechs, and mostly obviously in the lending and the credit space. Would like to know your thoughts since you've been in the grounds. Would be good to hear your thoughts of the innovations that are happening in this lending credit space. How is it going to change? What are people and the participants working on for the public? Would be good to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely. I mean, there are many players who are working on these kind of cash flow based loans, and different kind of credit products are being developed. I mean, when you talk about innovations, I'd like to speak some of the innovations that we are seeing from OCEN 4.0, the latest wave of OCEN. So there has been a good deal of innovation happening on the side of product creation here, so that the new products are coming up. They are moving away from those high level business loans or line of credits to extremely custom and industry specific loans. So
Mm.
as against those business loans, we are having HoReCa loans, which is basically hotel, restaurant, and cafe loans, dairy loans, agri loans, blue collar
Wow.
loans, among others. So apart from the sector specific loans, the other thing that we are seeing is on the side of tenures. You have loans which are ranging from 1 day to 3 months, and the ticket sizes for those loans vary from 2,000 rupees to 2 lakh rupees. The repayment options also are there on a bullet, daily or a monthly basis. So, at the start of OCEN 4.0, we are seeing this kind of innovation. We strongly believe that once, as and more loans are disbursed, and as and when people start getting more granular data on this innovations will get even more custom, from probably a sector specific to a region specific to probably an individual specific. So, that is the kind of innovation I can expect in this space.
Awesome. I mean, goosebumps moment, I think, for especially the credit and lending space in India, right? I think it can't get better than this if you can go to the granular level and customize a product for an individual. I think it can't go beyond that. I think that's the holy grail. Ashish, I'm sure, I mean, this all sounds great. It sounds, for me, actually, it sounds fantasy for me right now, but you guys are already doing it and you've done a POC and you're seeing so much success already. I'm sure you would have faced a lot of challenges while you were building this platform because you have so many stakeholders. You're creating obviously a tech platform on one side. You'll have, I'm sure, regulatory aspects. You have these market participants, as you said, borrower agents. You have so many different entities coming onto this platform. Would be good to hear the challenges that you guys faced while you were building this and how you guys overcame some of those.
So, while the pilots gave us a direction as to how to move forward, I would say the challenge is typically is more on the side of adoption at a larger scale. And I think that will happen as at once when people see the results of the various phases which are coming out. So let's now that OCEN 4.0 will be live. Once people have seen the results, once people have seen the diversity of loans that are being disbursed over here, uh, I think the adoption will increase. So I think the key challenge is adoption, which will see a traction post some results. Additionally, I believe for a large scale, adoption, regulatory guidelines also play a key determinant, and how the regulation shapes up would be a key factor which we'll have to look up. So these are the challenges I can think of.
Got it, Ashish. For me, I think it's the UPI moment in credit, right? I think
I
the
truly hope so.
yeah, I mean the way you guys are building it, the way you have thought through. I think each and every like participant, you have taken their viewpoint, consideration, and kind of created this roadmap. Ashish, moving on to my last question and the theme of this podcast, right? Of what's next. I know you spoke about innovations that you guys are doing in the coming months, but I was wanted to get your bigger picture, kind of how the next 3 5 years would look like in this space. I'm not sure whether you'll have the entire roadmap, but would like to get your thoughts and how would the next 3 to 5 years kind of look like in the space.
I think, once the adoption increases, there's bound to be a lot of innovation here. Like I said, move towards personalization or customization of those loans is, of course, one thing that I'm expecting.
Yeah, sure.
The thing that we can expect is, we are hoping that we are able to get some credit guarantee. We are expecting it to be there for the loans being disbursed on OCEN. So that will be a huge boost for the lenders to come on the platform. So yeah, these are some of the innovations, and more innovation will happen as it goes live. So I'm very positive about this platform, and like you said, this truly should democratize credit to an extent that the gap that we spoke of gets reduced to a significant extent.
Awesome. Awesome. I think this is, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I think this is for credit, right? I think once this gets fully commercialized and gets rolling, I think the next space could be insurance, right? So many, the same stack could be used across other verticals where penetration has been less. If you have seen insurance penetration also is quite low in India. Though we are a
Right.
diverse country, the insurance penetration is something quite low. I think once we see credit kind of being democratized and we see percentage increasing, I think other areas using kind of similar thought process
Definitely,
can be
definitely agree with that, because credit is one of the most difficult challenges in India, and
true.
if we are able
Absolutely.
to solve that big challenge, Then the other typical financial aspects which
Correct.
hamper the financial health of an individual or an SMEs, like insurance or investments, like you said.
True.
Those also, I mean, there's everything is seeing a pickup here, but it can be a good example for others to follow, so that there can be deeper penetration of other financial instruments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the controlling the movement of money is very critical, and credit, nothing like credit, right? Once if you can kind of hack that and solve that, I think, as you said, insurance investments could be natural progressions. Ashish, I think before we leave, I believe obviously you've had fintech experience as well in your past work ex. Maybe just wanted to get your message or your thoughts for fintech entrepreneurs out there on how could they join this bandwagon, and how can they kind of innovate along with you as you build OCEN.
Absolutely. So as I mean, we already you can definitely check oken.dev link to know more about what exactly is happening on the side of Oken, to understand it in details, and of course to get registered. So typically, and this has been highlighted in the open houses that we have done, that in lending ecosystem, someone who has, you can say, a loan book is, or on his own balance sheet, is someone who has made money. But this is an opportunity for other participants like borrowers agents, collections, and disbursement agents and derived data providers to make money as well. So, like I said, borrower's agent holds the key, which is the data as far as SME goes. And with that kind of rich database, he can leverage it and ensure higher credit for the players which are there on his platform. And thus, without having a balance sheet of his own, he can, make significant. Without having a loan book, he can make money over here. So this is, I believe, a chance for other players also to, like I said, win in this credit space. And I think it's a I mean, I definitely believe it's a fantastic opportunity. So you can reach out to any of the volunteers. You can have their details on the iSPIRT page, or you can visit oken.dev to understand how to get registered. And we'll be more than happy to help you out here.
Awesome, Ashish.
I want to give a message that this is a golden opportunity, and make sure that you don't miss it. Make sure you're jumping on it at the right
Awesome.
time. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome, Ashish. Thanks for ending it in a positive note to all my listeners, and also especially folks in the fintech space. If you guys are working in the lending space and want to be part of this golden opportunity, as I said, the UPI moment for credit, I think should reach out to the iSpirit team. Ashish is one of the volunteers there. You can reach out over LinkedIn or any of the other social media platforms. On that note, Ashish, thanks once again. I know we have been trying to have this podcast for some time, but finally, I'm so excited to finally have this recording, and hopefully should be out soon. Ashish, thanks a lot once again for being part of this.
Thank you, Vishal. Pleasure is truly mine.